Good evening, JC.
Good evening, Az.
Jay, I've got a big question for you. Big world question.
Big question.
Do you have, I'm sure you do, and I'm sure we spoke about it, do you have a personal mission statement or something that you'd say fits that effect?
Yes, I do.
Would you be willing, or should we explore that whole concept in terms of if people wanted to write one, if people don't know what it is, how they'd go about it, what it includes, what the point of having one is?
Would love to. Yeah, most certainly. Would love to.
I think it's a real valid thing. I've been rereading mine and kind of rewriting it recently because I think it's something you have to constantly refer back to. And I think that's a big part of it. So I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about it because I thought you would be someone who had something in place.
Well, tell me, Az, what's the framework of your mission statement then? So I'm presuming you're talking more than just a mantra here, aren't you? It's not something that you just put on the wall. So what's your framework that do you go to here?
Yeah, so this is the framework is actually what I've been looking at like recently in terms of what do I want it to include and what do I want to kind of cover in it. So I've been looking at some questions like for myself in terms of what I want my impact to be, what I want my contribution to be, what I want people to remember me for when I'm, dead and gone. And it's all that, and it's kind of just to guide decision making. I think that's the big part of what a mission statement should be. Is it's like a compass for the decisions you make in life, and like that kind of goes across the board. So my framework has been, or is now, a selection of these questions that kind of pull me out of a very narrow focus and put me in a much wider focus to cover like a more broad spectrum of things. That's the way I'm approaching it. So the framework is just like a page of paper, I'd say. Like I type it, but if you put it, I'd probably fill an A4 with it.
And you write it like a stories or like a document, like paragraphs, or do you add pictures and colours and everything else?
No, can't say I do that. No, I do a single sheet, and it's kind of like a contract with myself. If you were like to read the language of it, it's like it's an agreement with myself of what I want from life and what I need to do and approach in order to get it moving forward. And then you almost sign it, if you know what I mean, because you kind of bind yourself to what you've put down on that bit of paper.
So accountability, basically. You're giving yourself accountability.
And that's the big thing, is self-accountability, because it's easy when you got a boss or a mum or someone breathing down your neck. That kind of accountability is easy. The hard kind of accountability is when realistically you don't have anyone breathing down your neck and it's on you to like make those moves. You could very easily not do the thing or not eat the thing or whatever the thing is, but it's self-accountability. And I think that's what the personal mission statement does.
Yeah, love it. It really ties in once again. The universe is in constant sync. I'm listening to the podcasts, and the last couple on Infinite Monkey Cage have been about black holes and the craziness of those. But the one that sort of really strikes home is the end of the universe. They were talking about not just end of life, end of our planet, but the end of the universe. So I suppose I look at my own self-development mission statement as, like you said, what you're going to get out of it at the end of the day, your legacy, I suppose. So I think I've shared on here for all of our viewers. I'm just holding my iPad around. I have just like endless notes of notes. You mentioned it before, as I'm not being rude going on my iPad. It is just usually note taking. So my one is my personal self-development time. So I use this, I probably go to it weekly. Sunday is usually my day that I go to it. And I just use it to check up on things. And I do have a paper book still with, the girls got it for us, don't have it handy. It has like short-term goals, long-term goals and things like that. I use that that for more management will work. But based on what we've said, I've got the quadrant in there. I use that the time productivity because I feel I'm very much driven by time management. We all have the same 24 hours in the day, but I feel personally I'm really driven by that. So I use that on, a rotation kind of basis when it's needed. I put lots of notes down here. About books and, for instance, the yoga that I'm finding beneficial for my body and just different things that people have put down, have said or I've heard or I've read, I've put down so I've got a reference point. And I like to write stuff in here, almost like a journal where the stuff in my head, like the other week, there was a few things, for a better word, kind of get them to me. Went out for a walk with the dogs and I sat down and wrote in here, and it basically just shorthand, just got it off my chest. No one's ever going to read it. I had it ready to speak to someone about it if I needed to, but it didn't need to, and I found that just really useful. But I suppose that's a little bit off topic, isn't it? That's not quite where you're coming from. So I'm scrolling down as I'm talking to you. So I'm on my mission statement now. So I have this theory of three, and I like to write down three things for each part of my life. So family, business, and personal. They're the three big things to me. So my family, obviously first, the business, obviously, because we need that, and then my personal goals. And then I keep a note on what I was looking at a few years back and I like to do obviously now and then into the future as well. Is that more kind of what you mean by a mission statement?
It is. Yeah, it is. It's I tell you where it's all coming from in terms of me asking is consistency and being consistent with things that you set out to do. And I think the reason that 99% of people fail on fitness goals or business goals, whatever it is that there's not a point of reflection. Everyone gets real excited at the start of something, the planning, the getting it all ready, and everyone does really well in the first week. We see it all the time with people joining our dojos. They'll come, they'll join, they'll train, and they love it, and then people kind of teeter off. They lose the focus, and I think it's not having these points of reflection. And I know you feel like you went off with that thing where you sat down with the dogs and wrote, but I actually think that's exactly what I mean, in the sense that we have to take these spots where we sit down and go back to what we're doing and why we're doing it, like get back to the why, so that in moments of weakness where you're a bit tired or overworked, you can reflect on that and put yourself back on the straight and narrow, like back on the path.
We're talking more than discipline here, aren't we? We're not just talking about being disciplined and not eating, what you shouldn't things. It's deeper than that, isn't it?
Purpose. Yeah. It's impact. It's legacy. It's like the thing I like to use as a tool for this is you imagine your own funeral and you think of 3 or 4 people coming up to do a speech. One is a family member, one is a friend, one is a work colleague, and one is just someone who knew you, out of those spectrums. And you think about what you'd like them to say about you in like these, and it's kind of what you were saying about the 3 areas of life, your family, your work, your personal goals. You want to know that the people around you who you're influencing, your kids and all the rest of it, that you're setting an example that's going to ripple and it's going to last long beyond our tiny little speck of existence on this planet. And I think if you want to have an impact like that, it requires more than just, set a goal, go do the goal. It requires a reflection. That's kind of where I'm coming from with it.
Ditto on all of that, and it actually really sinks in. It was sport related, but it was just psychology at the end of the day. I did a psychology course earlier this year, and she said from a sport perspective, the 2 things that the 2 bits of advice she could give straight away to everyone, of which the most professional sports people, that do it for a living, that she works with, don't do. The majority of people don't. She said breathe. So first of all, learn to use your breathing, because obviously that's related to a physical exercise. But then she said journal. She said journal is one of the most important things, but journal in a way that you're reflecting on what you're doing. You're making yourself accountable for what you're doing. It crosses over so much to every walk of life, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, big time.
So what were these questions then? You say you build your framework around questions.
Yes. There's a load, but I'll give you some, and then you can feel free to answer them if you want to, just so people and anyone listening can get a bit of paper and play along. The first one is I write this statement, and it's open ended, and then I try to finish it. And the statement is, I am at my best when, and then I have to fill that out. That question alone gets me to think about like what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, how much sleep I'm getting, what media I'm consuming. And then I say I'm at my worst when, and that gets me thinking about all the pitfalls and traps that I know are in my life that send me the wrong way. Like, I'm at my worst when I don't get up early in the morning, because then I'm on a path where it just spirals down for the day, as an example. Everyone's different. So I do those two questions. I don't know if you'd like to go into those two, but that's like the first bit to point me in terms of doing better.
Yeah, I think I'm at my best if I'm answering that when I'm under pressure. I think that's when I'm really at my best, when I've got to get shit together and do it. I'm always been a lastminute.com. If it's got to be done, do it last minute, but in a constructive kind of way, if it makes sense. Not kind of leave it to last minute, but as in, I like getting in there and getting it on. And then at my worst, probably getting up early in the morning. That's yeah. Opposite of you.
Yeah. And then I ask, within the areas of my life, what do I enjoy the most? So take your 3 areas of personal, work, and family. What in those 3 realms of existing do I enjoy the most? And it's like, personal time with loved ones, watching someone who I've taught achieve something or succeed in a way where my teaching has had an influence, and things like that. And that kind of just gets your head clear about priorities. That's like you're really trying to hone in on when all the shit's going on and life gets silly, you can push it all to the side and get to the one thing that if you had nothing else, as long as you had that, you're gonna keep your stuff together.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Yes. What did I say after that one?
It sounds like, are you judging yourself? Are you being a judge and jury of yourself here, or are you allowing yourself to be judged by those out around? Do you get what I'm asking?
So I set it up with all this stuff so that in future I can be judge and jury based on what I promised in that moment. So I set all this up in like my best moment. Whenever I try to look at this and reflect it, I try to make sure I'm in a good place. Like I'm not in a destructive or angry place. I'm in a positive, life affirming, like go get it place. So then when I have a bad day or a bad week, I go back to it and I sit down and I hold myself accountable to what I wrote down. And I say, are you living with purpose?
Do you have a belt in your hand or something? Or
I mean, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like, I guess is it personal shaming? I don't know if that's a harsh thing to say, but I think you have to be your harshest critic, because you might take like my mum, for example, will always tell me that I'm doing great. Even when I'm not, she'll say, you're doing great. Just keep doing you. Don't worry. She's always going to be a positive affirmation, but she's not going to push me to where I want to go, because she's just not, that's not her thing. Her job's not to push. Her job is just to love and care. And that's, we all have everyone in our lives and they've got different roles. But even my wife, her job is not to push me. she is a support mechanism in a lot of ways, but I have to do the pushing. You know, if I want to take something somewhere, business. So I think it's where it's again not having a boss. Like we don't have a boss, so you kind of have to be your boss. You have to have that review period where they tell you some harsh truths, and I think you have to be able to do that to yourself.
But everyone, even if you've got a boss at work, you've got to have a boss of your own life, haven't you? Your own thoughts, your own choices.
Because otherwise, you're just a slave to someone else's dreams and desires. You end up just kind of going through someone else's vision of what they think your life should be, as opposed to what you think it should be. And I think it's just the more you reflect on it. Go on.
How often do you re-ask these questions? So like I said, I set my mission statement up and I base it around those three main things of family, business and personal. And I look at it as like a year kind of level. And I'll look at it. So I quite often do that in between that Christmas and New Year time. So you've had Christmas, you've had Boxing Day, you've had all the family, you've had a day of like TV, whatever you do, PJs, building Lego, and you know there's that little period before New Year. Well, we have it anyway with our business of shutdown, where, if for a better word, you just have peace. And I always do it by a fire. Quite often go to my brother's land, camp out, and I think about the year ahead, and I think about my family, I think about my business, and I think about my personal aspirations and basically goals that I want to achieve. And then what I do and work on over that period of year, like at the same time, I have like laws. I give myself laws of things that I will abide by all the time. For instance, I'm not eating sugar on a weekdays. On a weekday, I'm making sure I'm asleep by midnight. Things like that are just personal laws that I stick to. You don't break them at any time or you're breaking the law. I've got also like a life stone in this. I'm just going through my notes here that I refer to. Like my current life stone is to give more than I take. So that's something that I always judge my choices and time by. But then what I suppose doesn't change a lot, but I reflect on a lot is I've got it written here, like daily things, daily routine that I make sure I have. This is kind of, it's still part of the mission statement, isn't it, Az? So daily. And like, you know, I'm making sure that I smile. I'm making sure that I've got some kind of daily stretch or something going. Even things like this, like I make sure every day I cuddle the girls and I kiss Lauren, and every day Daisy and I do our handshake, little things like that. And then weekly is making sure I have a reflection time, which is when I look at this, making sure I stretch, making sure I do the gym, making sure I'm working on the different projects, blogs, bushcraft, bonsai, anything like that. And then into the monthly stuff, like every month we make sure we have a family day. It's in the diary. Lauren and I have a date night. It's in the diary. I've got to get back to it, looking at it, but make sure I have a screen-free day. And every month we make sure we go for a walk in Wakehurst. It's things like that that I suppose I build my mission statement out of. I like the questions. I haven't used that before. Where do you get to? Where's the conclusion with these questions for you in this statement?
Yeah, so you're hitting it all the nails on the head with it, that you build it once. And I do exactly the same as you. Christmas, New Year, it's a great time. It's just like set up for reflection and setting you up for the rest of the year. But then what I then do is I review it regularly, in the sense of I'm not trying to change it or rewrite it. I'm just checking that I am doing it. That this statement that I've put out, I go back at it and I look at it and I go, am I doing what's right by my body, my mind, my loved ones, my business? And, you know, like you just said there, just reading it, you realize you haven't done no screen thing for a while. And it's like you've checked in and been reminded with it. And then it brings it back to the forefront of your mind, because life gets in the way of all this stuff. And again, we all do it with the best of intentions at the start. and then life comes along, and then a lot of it falls to the side. And I think unless you're doing regular maintenance on it, and that's really what I'm getting at, is the maintenance. It's like, your car, it will only run as well as you look after it. You look after it, it'll run for as long as you want it to run. But if you don't, then it's going to start, the wheels fall off. So it's that. It's like the MOT, the service of it.
We're talking about social and cultural issues, especially in this country here, then, when you're talking about mission statements, and we're both in our black and white different ways of approaching it, have said you've got to put this structure together, and then from the structure you tweak it, you look at it, you review it. I think much of our culture and society now, a quick fix. They want to take a pill for it. They want to take a shake for it. They want to read it, see it. Yeah. And this stuff can't be done that way, can it?
I don't think so. And I think that's why people are struggling in modern life, because they're looking for quick fixes for problems that don't have a quick fix. And then what they end up finding is not a fix, but a temporary fix, a bodge job. They find alcohol because it temporarily numbs a pain. They find another addiction, or they just bury their head in the sand because they're trying to, like you said, just cure it overnight. But this is more of a, it's like bonsai trees. You can't just, one day do it, neglect it for months, and then do it again. They're like, in that time, you're not going to get the best bonsai. It requires regular attention, Same as your sport. You can't train for 1 week, neglect it for months, and then expect to perform at your best. You have to train. It's consistency. You have to be regular. And I think part of that consistency is having some form of a system for checking in. It gets me thinking about religion and the idea of like going to church on a Sunday. You go to church every Sunday and the priest reads out the same book every week. But it's not to try and really teach you anything new, especially as you get like older, but it's to remind you and reinforce values and reinforce certain behaviors. And I'm not a man of religion at all, but I can see how that's like, the Bible's their framework for how they're going to behave, how they're going to act in society. And that weekly visit to church is that reaffirmation. And I think we can all do that on a much more personal level. You have your own mission statement, and then whether it's a weekly review or a monthly review, I think that needs to be more instilled in people, to sit down with your notebook, your journal, your calendar, your quadrant, with all your stuff, and just check that you're on path.
I think we've got a new feature there, as I've just written it down. I think we should have a feature of a personal development check-in. So my check-in this week has been to screen time, to make sure I have my day 15th of the month, which should be Saturday. So I'm going to do it this week, where I don't look at a device. Everything stays off for the entire day. Don't watch telly. Don't go on a device. And those moments when you usually would, turn to a book, turn to just sitting outdoors and looking at the trees, whatever it be. So that's going to be my check-in this week. What about you?
Well, mine's going to be, and it will be birthed out of this conversation, is to talk about this stuff with people more, because I think sometimes you can feel like you're being a bit of a dick to discuss personal development with people. Like you're coming off all high and mighty, or, all knowing or something. But I feel charged in talking about it with someone like-minded like yourself. Like I'm now amped up to go do all the stuff. And I think if I want to do that more. I want to regularly talk about personal development, because it's important to me, with people who are of the same frame of mind, and even people who aren't, because, maybe you can shine the light. I don't know.
Yeah. Or they can give you a bit of, I think even some people sometimes that don't help you find a way for yourself even better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that. As that was a great start. It meant I didn't get asked though. How are you? Sir?
I am well. I'm busy. There's a lot going on, and this is where kind of all of this was birthed from, because I just thought before we get all back in the cogs of the machine, I just wanted to make sure my intentions were all set in the right direction. So I am good, but I'm busy, and I'm just trying to make sure I'm not just busy, but productive busy in the right ways.
Yeah.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. I'd say, yeah, similar. I think everyone's busy. I think it's just come with this whole relaxing of restrictions. I think we're all either making pressure on ourselves to do things, or there's pressure on ourselves to do things from elsewhere. I think we're just in a little bit of a pressure thing. I feel like I'm walking a little bit of a tightrope emotionally at the moment. Physically, I'm probably in the best shape that I've been for some time, as in I feel skill-wise, like with our training, I'm good. Conditioning wise, I'm good. Like I'm cracking out 540s at the moment and everything. I'm feeling, physically really good, but mentally I'm probably not as stable as I would like to be. But not in a way. Just because there's so much on, does that make sense? I just feel like I'm on a tightrope, and I've got to, back to what we said about the mission statement, I've got to stick to my daily and my weekly things, because if I don't, like tonight, I'm going to make sure everything's off by 10 o'clock. I'm going to make sure I'm asleep by midnight. And I feel that I could quite easily be up to 2 a.m., even later tonight, getting things done. But I know it's going to have, because I'm not emotionally stable, I don't think it would have a positive effect. That makes sense?
Yeah, completely. It's the car analogy again, isn't it? If you got to look after the motor so it can get you where you want to go.
Yeah, most definitely. I've got a food related rant for you. I did bring something today, a food related
double whammy.
So double whammy feature here. Sandwich crusts. I was somewhere, I can't remember where, the other day, and where was it? I can remember who it was. It was an older lady as well, which I think made me think of it more. Like I get it a little bit more with a kid not wanting to eat their crust. It's laborious or something. But it was just in the park actually. I was just with the dogs, and I saw them, and this lady definitely just ate the bread and returned. It might have even gone in the bin, the crusts. Are you a crust eating man?
I'm a crust eating man. I actually really enjoy the crust on a bread.
I'm talking about like pizza crust, the whole thing. What is that about?
People who don't eat pizza crust, I don't trust them. I don't associate with people who don't eat pizza crust. There's something deeply wrong with you if you don't eat pizza crust, to be quite honest.
I'm asking you, as I was actually hoping that you were going to be someone that cuts your crust off. I was actually hoping, I knew you weren't, but I was hoping you would be someone that would leave the crust of the pizza.
Why?
Yeah, I was so I could ask why.
Oh, so you can get an answer. I mean, I struggle to even. No, Anne eats the crust. She's a bread, devourer. There's any bread, she eats the bread.
Like I make our kids eat the crust. Like if they turn around and said, "I'm not eating the crust," unless there's a legitimate reason, it's charcoal burn, or they're genuinely full, because they've eaten a decent meal. I don't mean that you have to stuff it down your throat, but where people on purposely don't, I just don't get it. So if any of our listeners could tell us if you don't, I would really like to know why, because I just think it's a waste. I think it's unappreciated. It's like, what's all that about?
Our rule on the bad language on this podcast? Do we have a rule?
There's no rule. No.
I think they're just pussies. And I don't know if that's an inappropriate thing to say. If there's a better word for it these days, feel free to tell me. But I think that's what it is. They're just like, it's not as nice as the main bread. It's not as tasty. It's not tasty. It's just not as nice. So I don't put myself through such a trauma.
So like pizzas now come with stuffed crust, don't they? Do you think do you reckon that was an initiative by a pizza maker?
Oh, but
Get
that's a
people
chicken
to
and
eat
egg
their crust.
scenario, right? Is that people love the crust, so let's put cheese in it, or people don't love the crust, so let's put cheese in it? Well, so here's the question. Do you enjoy a stuffed crust?
Yeah, I won't go out of my way. I won't be like, I'm not eating the crust unless it's stuff. But
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
You?
I'm exactly the same. I probably wouldn't pick it on a menu, but if someone gave me a stuffed crust pizza, I'd be, I'd enjoy it. So that makes me think.
Maybe people that don't eat it on a sandwich, they don't butter or put their jam, peanut butter, whatever they put on it. Maybe they don't go to the edge. Do you make sure you go to the edge?
Well, so I don't go to the edge and I still eat it, but Anne tells me off if I make her toast and don't go to the edge. So she's, she is of that kind where she's like, no, come on, go to the edge. So I get that whole thing of, if it is a bit drier, right? The crust is a bit drier. So don't make it even more dry by not putting the condiment on it, But pizza crust, surely you dip it. I dip it,
Yeah, garlic
sauce, whatever it might be. Yeah. That's the whole point, huh?
100%.
I agree with your rant. I don't have an answer or a solution, so it definitely is a rant. It fits.
Yeah, I've been carrying that for a couple of weeks actually, so I feel better for getting that off my chest.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Top 3.
Yeah, I'll bring one, or I can wait for next week if you got one.
No. You go.
This was inspired by your one last week of sounds. So really throw this out there, be wherever you want to be with it. Top 3 lights.
Lights?
Yes.
As in light bulb light?
Yeah, as in the light.
Illuminance.
The shiny illuminance.
Luminance, yes. Gotcha. Go first for me, just to put me in the right path.
Okay, I've got a 4-cell, big battery. It's a D, isn't it? The big battery mag light. I think I know there's a lot more on the market, but I think the mag light was possibly one of the first heavy duty
torch.
Yeah, you could do some damage with that. It's like a 4-cell, so you can hold it with 2 hands. You could use it as a weapon, as well as it shines proper bright. And it's the button, it's the recess of the button under the rubber switch, and the fact that, did you know under the spring is a spare bulb?
I did not know that, no.
So under the spring is so the functionality of it. So the mag light I'm going to put out there as a top 3.
All right, I know where we're at now. So I have a thing in me. I think it's in a lot of men in particular. I don't think you have this, but maybe you do. I love LEDs in things.
I thought you were going to come out with that then.
I thought you would. If I had it my way, I would have an LED light strip everywhere. Everything would have an LED light strip. Fortunately, my wife holds me back. So I've got some.
With the remote.
Well, ideally, again, we're talking dream scenario, it's all smart and I don't even need a remote. And I just say, Alexa, blue, and it just goes, wow. That LED mood lighting in any form, for me, it's on my desk. I've got some on my desk and it makes me very happy. And it's a little thing. And I change the color depending on what I'm doing. So when I'm doing serious work, I put it on red and I'm in race car mode. And then when I'm relaxing, it's on blue.
Mission statement, is it?
It might as well be. There might as well be a color-coded.
What's green?
Taxes.
What's
money?
Tax.
Money time. When I'm doing the monies, we go to green.
Brilliant. I'm going to ask my girls, because both Daisy and Cece have got LED rooms now. I'm going to ask if they have a coloured theme to what they're doing.
You need the colour.
I like that.
There we go. Yeah. That's
These 2. Are my ones. Number two, mine aren't in any bronze, silver, or gold today. They're just like illuminating sources. My head torch. I've actually got two. I've got two head torches. I've got one which is my camping head torch. It's really small. It's only about the size of a 20 pence piece. It's got brilliant light on it, and I carry it whenever I'm camping, out in the van, whenever. It's in my pocket. Stick it on. It's just the most functional tool you can have when you're camping. And I've got a slightly more robust one that's got a couple more lights on it, and it's more like I suppose people use it for cycling, and I use that for when I do my trees outdoors, watering of the evening and that. So yeah, my head torches are my next number of light.
They're an underrated tool, aren't they? Like, I think the amount of us that walk around with like our phone torch in one of our hands and like having it in our mouth or trying to free our keys, I think a head torch is an underrated tool in people's box. My number two, I'll keep with the kind of camping theme. I've got a lantern, like a camping lantern. Now, it's an LED one. It's not a classic one, unfortunately, but it's super powerful. It's got a huge battery, like it lasts forever. You can switch it from a cold light to a warm light. So if you're like putting it in the tent, you can like put it on a soft, warm light to help you sleep. And you can charge bits off of it if you're that way inclined. I try to get away from phones and that when I'm camping, but it's got the functionality. It's very functional. It's a very functional light. I like it.
Yeah, I do. I love the sound of our actual flame camping lantern, because it's got that gas. You light it. I love the sound of that. So that's a homage to last week's top three. I could, for my last one, I could go all spiritual and hippie on you and be like, I love the starlight. So I love the twinkle in your eyes. But I'm going to keep it gadget, but it kind of ties in as well. I love the light of a flame, and in particular, my turbo light flame lighter that I've got. It's never been used to light a cigar or cigarette or anything like that. I'm not into that, but I use it for when you need to light the stove, light a fire, or anything else. But it's the sound as well. It's like a proper little blowtorch. It's the size of a Zippo, but it's a turbo one, and it just has a wicked blue light on it, and so the light of that in respect of fire as well.
Yeah, I like it. We're on the same wavelength with stuff, because my last one is the dying embers of a fire. So like end of a camping night or end of a barbecue, and the fire's just a little bit of ash, and there's just little sprinkles of red in there. That source of light is very comforting and very nice, because you're like, as the fire winds down, you're winding down, and you're all like in sync with the universe. And yeah, embers.
And it's usually at the end of a nice evening as well, isn't it?
It's almost always comes with a really nice evening, good conversation, good company, all that stuff. Yes.
I had something that I wanted to talk about today, but I'm glad that you went first, Az. I'll pick up next time on the convo. I've got something to bring because it's relevant, I think, at any time. But I'm glad you brought that mission statement. I've got a couple of quotes actually. I've got one that I had ready for what I was going to say, talk about, but coincidentally, the one below it kind of goes with what you were saying as well. And it's actually lyrics to a song. So I'm not going to test you on the song, but don't try to change the world. Find something that you love and do it every day. Do that for the rest of your life, and eventually the world will change.
And the song is...
Come on, you got to think it.
Can I have it again? Read it again.
Don't try to change the world. Find something that you love and do it every day. Do that for the rest of your life, and eventually the world will change.
I don't got it.
It's a Macklemore song. And I can't even remember which one it is.
Oh, I can hear it now that you said Macklemore,
Yeah.
but I still can't tell you the song name. But I know where you're coming from. I've lost my quote. I had a quote that I really wanted to use, and it has escaped me, which is really upsetting because I thought it was a good one. I'm going to save it for next week. You're going to have to hold out on me for a quote. Yes, your quote is going to have to carry us over.
That will carry us over. We can pick up the conversation next time, can't we? Oh, we better let our listeners and everyone know, especially if they're only picking up a post of this. We've got a new Facebook page and Twitter account. So find us on there and like, subscribe, share, click, comment, and all those things that you do on those things.
Yes, on all social media platforms, we are Short Convos Podcast. So if you type that in, we should be the thing that comes up. Look for the little speech bubble cloud and you'll find us.
Wicked.
Nice one, Jim. Yeah, it's been a great chat. Me too. We will catch up again next week. And thank you, everyone, as always, for listening.
Peace out.